Hello, I'm Nola, and I'd love to welcome you to my channel. First, let me do a little housekeeping and thank all of my regular subscribers for your patience with me, your love and your support. And then I have had several new subscribers, and I would really like to thank you for your subscriptions and your support. And finally, if this is your first time here, I hope you'll stay a while. Today, I want to talk about burnout, when your body finally says enough. You know, a little more than a month ago, or for a while now, I felt like there's been a portal somewhere in my body, and all of my energy was just quietly pouring out of it. And that isn't a metaphor, it's the closest description I've ever found for what burnout feels like. If you've ever experienced it, you probably know exactly what I mean. For most of my life, I was the strong one, and perhaps for most of your life, you've been the strong one. You've been the caregiver. Perhaps your profession is a nurse or something in the caring field. Maybe you've been the fixer in your family. Maybe you've been the supervisor. Maybe you are the person people called when life fell apart for them. And I've been that person, and I did it willingly because I love the people in my life. But nobody ever told me what happens when the strong one runs out of strength. And I suspect that nobody told you, beloved. For me, burnout didn't arrive after one bad week. It came after years of stress, layered upon stress, years of caregiving, years of responsibility, years of trying to be everything to everyone. Have you been down that path? I suspect you have. Until one day, my body simply said, I can't do this anymore. It's almost as though I intuitively knew, or my higher mind knew, that I couldn't do it anymore, and my body didn't ask for any rest. It demanded it. I'd do 3 simple tasks and I'd have to lie down, because I felt if I didn't lie down, I was going to pass out. And walking upstairs felt like climbing a mountain. I might as well have been climbing a mountain. My mind wanted to keep going, but my body simply wouldn't. And before we go any further, beloved, I want to encourage you to see your physician if you're experiencing overwhelming exhaustion. Please don't assume it is burnout. There are many medical conditions that can cause similar symptoms, and they deserve proper evaluation and investigation. I had the blood work, I had the imaging, I had medical evaluations. Other than bursitis and a low level of vitamin D, there was nothing to explain the level of exhaustion I was experiencing. And that does not mean that my experience will be yours. This is simply my story. And I must tell you that no one officially diagnosed me with burnout. I came to that realization myself. I started reading, which I love to do, and researching. I was trying to understand what happened to me. And perhaps you are trying to discover or to find out or understand what is happening or what has been happening to you. That's when I discovered the work of psychologist Christina Maslach. And I don't know if I pronounced that last name correctly, so I'm going to spell it for you. M as in Mary, A-S-L-A-C-H. And her research has shaped much of what we understand about burnout today. I remember myself reading her work and thinking, oh my goodness, this has a name. I wasn't lazy. I wasn't weak. I wasn't imagining it. I finally had words for what I had been experiencing. And she described this in 3 dimensions. The first one was emotional exhaustion. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Emotional exhaustion. The second one was cynicism or emotional detachment. I've experienced that. And then the reduced sense of accomplishment. Feeling that no matter how much you've done throughout your life, it never feels or never felt like enough. For me, it wasn't depression. I have been through several bouts of severe depression throughout my life, and this was not depression. I still loved people. I still laughed. I still smiled when the birds landed in my garden. I still adored my dog, and I still found joy in learning something new. What I couldn't explain was the exhaustion. And every day, my energy simply leaked away. No matter how much I rested, I simply could not refill it. And then some of us spend months, even years, trying to figure out or understand why we are so exhausted. We have the tests, we see the specialists, everything comes back normal, whatever that means. We pop all the popular vitamins, we change diets and exercise routines. Eventually, we begin to wonder whether it is all in our imagination. If you've ever felt unseen or unheard while trying to understand what's happening to your own body, I want you to know that you are not alone. Many women and men, and many people from minority communities describe this experience too. Whatever your background, keep asking questions, keep advocating for yourself, keep looking for healthcare professionals who will truly listen. This isn't a diagnosis. This is simply my journey toward understanding what happened to me. If any part of my story sounds familiar, perhaps it will encourage you to begin asking your own questions. And then this is something else that I learned. As I've been thinking of all of this, I learned something. No one, not even the people who love us the most, can ever know everything that's happening inside another human being. We all have an inner world, thoughts we've never spoken, fears we've never shared, memories we're still trying to make sense of, questions we quietly carry. No one else, beloved, has complete access to that part of us. Sometimes we expect people to know we're struggling. We think, surely they can see it. But life is really that simple. Unless we tell someone, they may have no idea. Or they may simply be too overwhelmed to even understand what you're talking about because they're so busy dealing with their own life. And there is an old saying that goes like this. I think it says, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. And I think there's some wisdom in that. Sometimes asking for help is one of the bravest things we can do. Now, I want to be honest. There have been times in my own life when I did ask for help. That help I hoped for didn't come. It never showed up. And that was painful, very painful. But I've learned that one unanswered request doesn't mean we should stop reaching out. Sometimes it simply means we haven't found the right person yet. Because life is more complicated than we often realize. The person who doesn't answer the phone may be carrying a burden we know nothing about. Or that beloved friend who suddenly seems distant, may be fighting a battle they've never spoken of. Just because they cannot see my whole story, just as they cannot see my whole story, I cannot see theirs and you cannot see theirs. Perhaps one of the greatest gifts we can give each other is a little more grace. perhaps a little more kindness, a little more patience, a little more empathy, because every single one of us is carrying something that isn't immediately visible. And perhaps, just perhaps, there's another reason we need to be gentle, not only with ourselves, but with one another. And this is what burnout has taught me. As I began recovering, I realized something. Burnout just isn't about doing too much. It was also about believing that my value depended on how much I could do. And many of us grew up hearing messages like this. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Just get on with it. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. Our parents often gave us the very best of what they had. Many of them had survived war, hardship, economic uncertainty. They taught resilience because resilience helped them survive. The problem wasn't resilience. The problem was that some of us quietly learned another lesson, that our worth depended upon our usefulness. And somewhere along the way, we stopped asking, who am I? And started asking, what can I accomplish next? When is it ever enough? Just to be. I still don't know that I have the perfect answer to that question, but I'm learning that perhaps the question itself is changing me. Beloved, achievement is a beautiful thing. Education matters. Your life's calling or your work matters. Serving others matters. Raising families is a big deal. It really matters. And burnout isn't asking us to stop achieving. What I think that burnout is doing is asking us to stop believing that achievement is the measure of our worth. Those are two very different things, because we are far much more than what we produce. For so much of our lives, it felt as though there was always another mountain to climb. At least that's what it felt like for me. To finish school, to build a career, to have a family, that meant raising a child or two or three, to care for family, to be the responsible one, to be the dependable one, to be the sober one, to achieve the next thing. And somewhere along the way, many of us learned how to accomplish, but never learned how to simply be. And perhaps that's one of the greatest lessons burnout has been teaching me. There came a point where I knew this wasn't simply about being tired anymore. And I want to be very clear, I was not depressed. I wasn't suicidal. I didn't want my life to end. I loved life and I continue to love life. But deep inside, I knew that if I didn't change the way I was living, my body wasn't going to keep cooperating. That's the only way I know how to describe it. Our bodies often whisper. Over the years, my body gave me so many whispers before it started to scream. But I just hadn't been listening. One day, I stopped making a list of everything I still had to do. I also stopped calling every quiet day a lazy day. Sometimes I think that those are the days when something deep inside us, within our psyche, our higher mind, our subconscious mind, is still processing. We live through grief. We live through caregiving. We live through heartache and disappointment and change, because change is just a part of life. And then the losses that we survive throughout our lives. And then we expect ourselves to carry on as though nothing happened. How is that possible? beloved. But perhaps healing doesn't work that way. Perhaps some of our quietest days are actually our busiest days, because we simply can't see the work that is happening beneath the surface. And then, I started to make another list of everything I'd already survived. I'm still on my path to healing. It hasn't been easy, and it hasn't been quick. I'm standing here today, not as someone who has all of the answers. I simply don't. Goodness knows I don't. But as someone who is still healing. Some days are easier. Some days are still difficult. I've had to learn to rest without apologizing for it. And I've had to become intentional about how I care for my body, what I eat, how I sleep, who I spend time with, where I give my energy. And little by little, beloved, I'm finding pieces of myself again. Perhaps healing from burnout isn't about becoming the person we used to be. Perhaps, just perhaps, let's think about this for a moment. Perhaps it's about becoming someone who no longer believes that you have to earn the right to rest, or to be loved, or the right to simply exist, because I don't think we were ever meant to earn those things. I think they belonged to us all along. Somewhere we simply forgot. If you've been the strong one, if you've carried everyone else's burdens, if you've been everyone's counselor, and no one has asked you how you're doing, I want you to know something. I see you. And more importantly, I hope you will begin seeing yourself again, because your worth has never depended on how much you accomplish. It has always existed, simply because you do. Thank you for spending time with me. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you feel that someone could benefit from this. Be gentle with yourself. Remember that kindness is truly important, because everyone is dealing with something you know nothing about. Be kind to yourself. Until the next time, take care and bye for now.